You haven't gotten a wall. You haven't had the swamp drained. You haven't gotten cheaper gas prices, cheaper grocery prices. Childcare is not more affordable. The war in Ukraine hasn't ended. You were promised no new wars, but we're in one. You haven't gotten your $5,000 Doge check. You haven't seen all of the files. You haven't seen a rest from the files. Some people would say you just got tricked, but I don't think that that's the case. I don't think it was ever about any of those things. What you have gotten that you wanted was the ability to feel connected to a large group of people that now feel comfortable outwardly expressing racism, misogyny, and prejudice at every turn. You're now able to be loud with your hate and comfortable in your day-to-day life expressing your hate of other people, your hatred of other people and other people's lifestyles that don't align with yours. And to the people of color that support this, you think you're different. You think you're a hardworking Christian American and you're not the stereotypical person of color, and you want to separate yourself from those people because you're different. You think you're better than they are. You've worked hard. You aren't living off the government. You're married to your children's mother. But we had a Black family in the White House that was educated, had been working every single day of their adult lives, that were Christian, raising their children to be good humans, and white people still didn't accept them. These people that you're trying to be in a club with laughed at a video of them depicted as monkeys. It was never about the economy. It was never about family values. It was always about a majority of white Americans that felt like their lifestyles were being threatened by diversity. We are not safer in our country right now. We are not wealthier. We are not healthier. Our children are not thriving. This was always about being loud and proud about the people that you would not allow to sit at your table. And now you have that comfort of knowing that 51% of Americans voted and support the same hatred that you do. This is not what I want my account to be, but more people that look like me need to stand up and say something. My kids will know that no matter how white and middle class and average their lives are, that does not make them better than anyone else. And that we can disagree on economic policy. We can disagree on how we personally want to live our lives, but how other people live their lives, as long as it does not infringe upon our rights or affect the way that we live ours, it's none of our business. And that's my stance on government.
Two things can be true at once, but not these two things. Some people love to say that racism is over, so we should just stop talking about it. But a significant number of James Tallarico voters voted for him, not for policy reasons, but because they were concerned that Texas voters would not vote for a Black woman. Again, not for policy concerns, but because she is a Black woman. Two things can be true at once, but not these two things.
If we're being honest, all the right-wingers would support everything that leftists want to do, universal health care, higher wages, etc., if they lived in a homogenous white country. They just don't want that stuff because they feel like minorities are going to get it. And yeah, and that's also my theory as to why the Scandinavian countries have successfully implemented all that social democratic stuff and why we can't, and more diverse countries can't. It's because people are racist.
A lot of people voted because their life's too damn expensive, and it was here, and
they voted for. You're telling me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are, that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted fella, a guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot.
They voted for this guy.
I'm not defending it, but I think there are tons of people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying life's not fair, I'm not doing well, my son's still living in the basement, I can't seem to get a job, I don't like the status quo, I'm voting for something else, and
I love you to life,
I love you,
but I do not believe that. I cannot believe that. And the reason I think you believe it is because you don't want to believe that that's what's really motivating them. It's always the case. People don't want to believe what the country actually is, because if they believe it, they're going to have to confront what's in them. I don't believe that. They voted for a crook, a person who they know is stealing from, just doing everything to undermine the so-called country that they love. And then they're telling us the BS that it's economics. We know that's not true. We know it's not true, and we got to raise our kids in this. Oops.
The United States will only improve as a country once white people become a minority. Last year, my book club read this book, Dying of Whiteness. In this book, the author, Jonathan Metzl, thoroughly maps out how white Americans impede the progress in the United States by voting against their own interests because of racism. And for me, the chapter on healthcare showed this the most. So the author did 2 focus groups of white men and black men. And I want to show you the disparity of the things that the white men said versus the group of black men. So these are the opinions of a man who claims that he would be dead without Medicaid and the VA. In speaking about government funding healthcare, he goes, "No government, no way." He had a problem with Obamacare because it's just a form of socialism, communism, or something like that. Whenever the author mentioned healthcare expansion in reform or the Affordable Care Act, these men would voice anxieties about the use of health and economic resources by irresponsible, lazy, and often racialized others. One man who has had 5 heart attacks and claims that his antibiotics would cost him $700 without help complained about all these people using Obamacare. They have 2 or 3 doctors and just use the shit out of it. And then when somebody really needs it, they ain't there for you to get. What really pisses me off is that we are pocketing all the Mexicans, all the illegal motherfuckers, their houses, their cars, their food stamps, everything they want, we're paying for it. You cannot utilize food stamps or welfare if you're an undocumented immigrant. I could share a lot more, but let's move on to the black men. The author states that whereas white men thought about them, black men thought about us. One black man said, "In a country as big as ours, I don't see why we can't have affordable health insurance for everybody. I'm all for it." Another one said, "Obamacare makes it easier for us to get insurance and also get a doctor, and poor people benefit." When talking about the government, this is what 2 black men had to say. "It's the responsibility of the government to protect the citizens from entrepreneurs. The vegetables and the fruits that we eat are covered with pesticides, and so someone has to protect the citizenship. The government's role is to make sure that people who are trying to get that extra buck don't kill us in the process." And something very important that the author stated, black men were unburdened by ideologies of supremacy or the invective of fallen greatness. When black men were asked who benefits from the ACA, their response was everybody. And so anyone looking at this country right now wondering why is it such a shit show? It's a shit show because of uneducated, insecure, and bootlicking European Americans.
Make America Great Again was never about actually making this country great again. It was about propping up the voices of racist white people, while also simultaneously suppressing the voices of black and brown people that have been hurt by this country and the politics and the racism that exists in this country. And the whole concept of Make America Great Again was really make racism ignorable again. Because I see so many people, whenever I talk about racism online or with my white family, unfortunately, gaslight me or try to gaslight me from the fact that racism doesn't exist anymore and I'm just playing victim. And this is a very common thread that we see in the history of America, where black and brown people are gaslit while also simultaneously being traumatized by a system that profits off of the racism that they are being gaslit to believe that doesn't exist. And so we really have to start talking about what Make America Great Again really means, because the time that they are trying to go back to was really just a time in which they were not held accountable for their racist ideology and their racist actions.
Okay, I want to take a moment to say thank you to Donald Trump, not out of praise, but out of truth. Because while you rip through every part of this government, tearing down justice, equality, and fairness under the fake excuse of fighting DEI fraud, what you're really doing is confirming what black folks have been saying for generations. America was built on racism, fueled by fear and sustained by white supremacy. You've exposed it all. The masks are off. The polite racism, the fake allyship, the colorblind lies, it's all gone. Now we see it raw and unfiltered. You're not just targeting policy, you're targeting people. Black people, brown people, marginalized communities, and the wild part. We make up the smallest portion of this country, yet somehow we are the biggest threat to the lie that white supremacy built. That should tell you everything. You're afraid not of violence, not of replacement, but of the power we hold even when we have nothing. You see the way our culture, our brilliance, our resilience, our excellence continues to shape this country, even when it tries to erase us. Donald Trump is just the loudest version of a system that's always been in place. He is the living, breathing proof that this country was never designed with us in mind. And yet, we continue to define it. So thank you, Donald, for exposing what so many tried to deny, for showing the world that the fear of black greatness is real, for proving that racism isn't in our imagination, it's in the fabric of this nation. And to my people, we don't have to fight to prove our worth. He's doing that for us. All we have to do is stand firm, stay awake, and know that the truth is finally louder than the lie. We are not broken. We are not the problem. We are the evidence of the power that this country can contain. Let that truth ring louder than its hate.
Contrary to the racist stereotypes that have been told about black Americans since before day one in this nation, many of you all believe, because of your racism, that black Americans are stupid, that we are unintelligent, uninformed, and easily manipulated. And all of the media images that you all consume really has implanted that in your psyche, despite all the concrete evidence to the contrary. Within the past 18-20 months, we have had two significant elections, one for the highest elected office in the land, and the well-qualified black woman lost. Then we had, most recently, the Democratic primary for that Senate seat that's up for grabs in Texas, Jasmine Crockett, and she lost. Black Americans have now realized that this nation does not want to be saved, and we're not going to continue to be taken for granted. Our votes must be earned, as well as our hard-earned dollars and our support. And it is quite clear that you all don't get that. It's wild to me, because the only reason that this nation is in the predicament that it is in now is because no one listened to the 92% of black American women and 80% of black American men and voted for the right candidate to be elected president, who was Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris should be our president. We would not be in the situation that we're in domestically and now on the world stage had she been elected. Jasmine Crockett, again, who has been one of the few voices in Congress to really serve in the best interest of the people and to speak out against the fascism in the federal government, did not win the Democratic primary in Texas because of racism and misogyny, pure and simple. You all can come up with all that other bullshit rationale that you want to and try to gaslight black Americans. Oh, and white liberals and progressives, just like after Kamala Harris lost, have really tried to gaslight black American people. And not just gaslight. You all have been in the comment sections of black Americans still showing your entire ass, thinking that we're just going to give you the okie doke and fall in line because vote blue no matter who. And we black Americans are constantly telling you all, oh no, not anymore. The main reason that we voted Democratic, and we just never blindly voted Democrat, we always voted in line with our best interest, which, as it turns out, is in the best interest of everyone else and ultimately the nation. But now we understand that the left is just as anti-black, racist, and misogynist as the right. You all think that all of a sudden, because you tell us to, we're going to ignore all of the racism and the misogyny from the 2024 presidential election aimed toward Kamala Harris, and then in the Democratic primary in Texas that was aimed at Jasmine Crockett. We're supposed to just ignore that. We have to now come together. Here's a newsflash, because many of you all are quite ill-informed because you are willfully ignorant of history. The United States of America has always been a dystopian regime for black American folk. Always. Always. And what is happening now is not the worst that we have had to contend with. 400 years of chattel slavery, then slave codes, Jim Crow, racial apartheid, domestic terror all throughout, including lynchings. And you all think that this is the worst that we've had to endure because you are now getting a taste of what we've always had to cope with? Well, if we don't come together, oh no, what? The situation in Texas for black Americans has always been the situation in Texas as it is currently. So I've always said that, oh well, after the midterms, whatever will be, will be. But black Americans are done. Our votes, our money, our support must be earned. period.
One gigantic takeaway from the 2024 election, at least to the political pundits, was that white men were not fully engaged in the party as they should. And it feels like white men made the decision that the party would be better in their hands, as opposed to dealing with all of the quote unquote identity politics that the Democratic Party had become associated with, especially in putting up a black woman for president in the shortest presidential run in history. Not recognizing that white male is an identity politic. And it is, for all intents and purposes, the least consistent one for Democrats. The reality is that white men did not want Kamala Harris because white men, by and large, and a lot of suburban white women, do not see black leadership as something that they want to be under, specifically when that leadership is a woman. And so Kamala Harris spent her campaign trying to win the very people that she didn't think would naturally show up for her. In the process, it made her look like a moderate, which her voting record in the Senate says that she is not. She had one of the most progressive voting records of anyone in the Senate when she was there. And yet she understood the politics of suburban white women and white men not naturally wanting to follow black female leadership. And yet, not only did they not support her, but now white men are saying, see, that's evidence that we should be in charge. And in the process, are not only trying to alienate the most consistent voting blocks for the party, but acting in ways that are, como se dice, racist. And to be very clear, I am not anti-white man or anti-white male candidate. I do believe the necessity of having a coalition across race, gender, ethnicity, orientation, ability in Congress. I think that's super important, and the Senate, and running for the White House, in all the different facets of life. And I'm also, whomever wins these Democratic primaries is the folks we need to be voting for to get some checks and balances in this piece. But I do think it's interesting to watch white men in particular who do not believe any longer that they can be held accountable for racism or sexism because they call themselves democratic socialists or leftists, operate in ways that are so traditionally white supremacist. They just happen to have a blue sign on it. And in these acts of racism and sexism, they point to what they see as the failure of Kamala Harris as a candidate, as the reason why they can act in these ways, because they believe that the only way the party can win moving forward is if they are in charge. Because despite the fact that they're quote unquote leftists, they still operate from a space of white supremacy. We have to reject this notion as a whole and do our best to fully participate in the caucuses and the primaries, and then work to get the most qualified candidates elected in November so we can put checks and balances on the Trump administration. That's what we should be doing. But some of the stuff that y'all are doing right now is so blatantly racist, but you feel like you are immune to that because of your leftist politics. And that is not true. Just like I have to constantly check myself in the fact that I am a man. I am a cisgender heterosexual man. I have privileges. I have to constantly check them. If you're a white man, you should be checking yourself before you wreck yourself. And a lot of y'all running on the internet right now, wrecking yourself regularly. So let's do this work together. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
So clearly we love and prefer to learn from our own experiences, and I don't even think if we should say we learn. We probably don't love to learn. So Black people have been going through a lot of things for a very long time. We're always talking about 400 or 500 years. And Black people know what it is like to have a life that you constantly feel that you deserve better. They know how it is like to want a certain kind of life and you are unable to get it for one reason or another. Black people also know the consequences of choosing a bad leader. A bad leader in this case is someone whose interests are not really your interests, you know. The interests of the country are not exactly his interests. Sometimes their interests are their own families, their own friends, themselves, you know. That is not the kind of leader that you want to choose to head a whole country. Now, this doesn't always make a lot of sense unless you have encountered it, unless you have gone through something that helps you to know that this is the worst thing that you can ever do to yourself. Now, Black people have lived their lives knowing the consequences of doing such things, and they make sure, at least, even though they're not perfect, they make sure that they choose someone that has their interests at heart, and not just the interest of Black people, the interest of the whole country as a whole, because if everyone gets a better lifestyle, then isn't it the main goal of leadership in the first place? So Black people have not been selfish. They have always looked out for themselves and for others as well. But then here comes the white people, and I always like to give this disclaimer in my videos that when I'm talking about white people, especially for the wrong reasons, it's not always about all white people. There are white people that are okay and they understand these things, and they even support Black people, which is very commendable. Now, what I meant to say is white people decided that they will vote for someone just because it is their own, you know. You look at someone and you know definitely, you know that this is not someone that has the kind of leadership qualities you need for that size and level of a country. But then the other opponent is of a different race, and then you decide it is better to risk it all, risk the future of your own children, your own life, and risk everyone else in the country and even outside, because I have always mentioned in this channel that whatever happens in the first world countries affects the third world countries automatically, and it is not something that is even discussed enough. So as you take that vote and vote for the wrong person, just know that you are affecting the lives of very many people, more than you can ever imagine. It's not just America. It's a lot more than you think. So next time, I hope that people have learned something and that they will listen. You know, there's something I learned about listening. Sometimes just you might have a lot to say, but sometimes listening can help, because you don't know it all. You do not have the monopoly of knowledge. So make sure that you also listen. And as much as you think that you know everything and you know it all, make sure that you also listen to what the other person is saying. Yeah, concentrate, not listening to respond. Listen so that you understand why they are saying what they are saying, because with that, we would not be here talking about this that we're talking about today. Kamala Harris was a good fit. She was a very good fit. She has good records. She has outperformed herself many times, and people know that. And they could even check out what she has achieved in her life so far. She was a good match. She was a good fit, and she deserved to get that position. Now, the only reason that she did not get it is because of her skin tone. Skin color, her race. If she was white, she would automatically be president today. But then people are looking at it from a point of they do not want to be led by a Black person, you know, like a different race. They do not want to be under that kind of leadership, which is utterly wrong, because I don't mean to brag or, you know, all I'm trying to say is we've had a situation where President Obama was the president. And I've had a lot of comments in my comment section saying, no, Obama was not all that. He was not the best president, you know. Now, here's what you need to understand. Now that we have at least a good comparison, look at the life that you're living now and look at the life that you led back then when Obama was the president. You can make your own judgment from that, from every sector of the economy of United States. You can make your own conclusion from that. You know which life looks a little bit better. Now, all I'm saying is it's not like Obama was the best president, and it's not like he was 100% at everything. He was not. He's just a human being. And I have quoted him in a video some time back when he was saying he knows for a fact that he was not 100% perfect. He says it himself, he was not perfect, because human beings, I think we are limited to to that. We cannot be perfect. We cannot be 100%. You cannot please everyone, you know. All you can do is make sure that you're doing everything that is humanly possible for you at the point and position that you are at that time. Make sure that you're doing your best of best, yeah. So, and that is what Obama says. He might not have made everyone happy, but for what he knows and what gives him peace is knowing that he did everything he could in his power, in his position, to make America a great place. And we all agree with that. There are things that he did that we can all see, we all felt, you know. But then Kamala Harris, unfortunately, missed on that opportunity because maybe they thought her being in position will be better for Black people. You know, you're making a very big decision using a very stupid argument. You know, how can you put skin color as one of the conditions of whoever you're voting for? This is your life you're talking about. This is the life of your children you're talking about. These are the lives of your children's children. It's not just about you. It's not just about the Black people that are in your life. And sometimes these people don't even know a lot of Black people. They just know like 2 or 3 people and they feel like they understand everyone. That's why there's always a kind of generalization when something happens. When a robbery happens, you will often hear people talk about it was a Black person. They just, you know, it's just something that is, it feels right to say or think. They are actually surprised when they find that it's not a Black person on the wrong side of things. And they're always looking for trouble. So Black people have endured a lot. And when they were talking about making a better decision in the politics that was, they knew what they were saying. They were informed, but they were ignored because, well, they are Blacks. They were ignored because what do they know? What do they know? What have they done, you know? Like, they do not have that place that makes them feel comfortable and able to even make a decision, you know. They know people always have a reason or reasons to make a certain decision. But then the white people decided that they want to learn by experiment. And here we are. And now they want to blame the Black people for not joining in, for not collaborating with them so that they fight against the thing that they themselves brought to themselves. And that is absurd. It's very, very, very absurd. And let them learn. Let them learn. Let them learn so that thankfully there's always a next time. Next time they should be able to make a very informed decision, as they will have learned from experience. Because if you insist that you have to learn from your own skin burning, then, well, go ahead and do it. And Black people is not to mean that they are not going through the pressures that life is like right now. They are, but also remember that they have been going through that for a very long time, and it's not a shock to them. They have been going without the food stamps. They have done jobs where people are paid higher than them because of their skin color. They have missed on a lot of opportunities because of their skin color. So these are not the kind of people that you expect to be on the streets right now crying and carrying banners and all that. No. And I do not actually recommend that any Black person joins in. Let them feel the pain, let them feel the pinch, so that next time they will learn. You know, sometimes it's better to let people learn in the hard way. Let them learn the hard way so that they will be better next time. If you try to interfere and try to help them right now, they will forget very easily and make the same mistake again, knowing that you will be there to help and support them in whatever fight they will be up against that time. So guys, that's all I have to say for today. New subscribers, if you're watching me for the first time, thank you so much for choosing to be here. And kindly consider subscribing to my channel for this kind of content and more. And there's lots of other videos on my channel. If you're interested in such videos, go to my channel and watch them. I have a playlist made ready for you. And returning subscribers, thank you so much for choosing to make this home. This is home for all of us. And I want to see more comments. I have seen thousands and thousands of comments, but I still want to see more, because the interaction is great. The back and forth with people in the comment section is really amazing, and learning. It's a learning process as much as it is entertaining. We get to understand people and where they're coming from, and the things that inform their choices, the things that inform their decisions. And I think that is more important than anything else that we do on this channel, to just learn and learn, relearn, all that. And guys, kindly also share this video to like-minded people. And I hope that you're keeping safe and taking care of each other. I will see you on my next video. Bye for now.